god, you guys, Mario Kart 9 may be in development. So this is according to Dr. Sirkin Toto as part of a new article posted at GameIndustry.biz in which it talked to several gaming analysts for their predictions of 2022. And Dr. Sirkin Toto specifically stated that Mario Kart 9 is in active development and comes with a new twist, and Nintendo could tease it this year. So it sounds like they're not predicting it'll release this year, but they are predicting we could see it this year based on what they know of the game apparently existing in some form. Which means, of course, we are here to discuss it all because we are huge Mario Kart fans and we can't let this go by without talking as much as we can about it in depth. So we have Tom and Triss here, of course, to discuss our thoughts and on specifically, I think, what this twist could be. That's what I really want to know. What could this twist be? But before we get to that, I want to give our overall thoughts on what we think of knowing that Mario Kart 9 is in development. Triss, you're one of the biggest Mario Kart fans I know besides myself. What do you make of this news? Do you believe it? Do you think it's actually happening? And what do you think it means for Mario Kart?
I fully believe it, personally. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's been years since Mario Kart, a mainline Mario Kart game, has been in development, and since the team has been working on anything that we know of. So it makes perfect sense for one to be on the way. I know in our 2022 predictions, we were kind of mixed on whether we would actually see it this year or not, but for the 30th anniversary of the series, we were really, really hoping so. And this just makes me excited for that silly idea I had for the Mario Kart 30th Anniversary Direct with a ton of things, capping off with that announcement.
One thing to consider real quick is that even if it doesn't release this year, it could still fall within their 30th anniversary, because that doesn't technically start till, I believe, August or sometime later this year, which buys them a whole year from that point. So they almost have a year and a half left of development to release it and still consider it a 30th title. Although it's all with its marketing, they can consider a 30th title whenever they want to. They really chose to go that route. Tom, what do you think about Mario Kart 9?
Well, I mean, I always kind of assume it's in some sort of development. Like, I assume Nintendo's always working on Mario Kart, always prototyping ideas. But maybe, it's good to hear, and we worry about just Mario Kart 8 being forever. So, obviously, we don't have to worry about it selling too well. Like, at least it keeps the series going forward. So,
as I commented earlier, the Mario Kart 8 logo with the 8 does look like an infinity symbol, which could imply that we're stuck with that game for eternity. We were never going to leave Mario Kart 8. So yes, having this news is exciting. Even if he's, as you said, Tom, this is pretty obvious. Mario Kart is one of their biggest selling franchises. Of course, they're working on a new one. That part isn't a surprise, but I'm hoping that this means that. Based on what Toto said, that it could be coming sooner than, later. Not necessarily this year, but we will hopefully see it this year, particularly given the 30th anniversary, as we all touched on. So yeah, just having confirmation that it is in fact in development, even if it's also pretty obvious, is exciting. It's been almost a decade since the last mainline game, if you don't count Deluxe, which you shouldn't because it wasn't a new game. It was basically just Mario Kart 8 repeated, which again is fitting given the infinity symbol. And as a huge Mario Kart fan, I cannot wait for this. I really want to know what exactly it is. And I've seen a lot of discourse over even what it's going to be called. Some people think it might be called Mario Kart 10 for whatever reason, because apparently they're considering Mario Kart Live as 9. Mario Kart Tour as 9, but not Live. I don't think they'll call it 10, but I have seen some thoughts on they could go the X route, where it could stand in as 10, but also as like a crossover type thing. But I might be getting a little bit too deep into our predictions here. But anyways, I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to actually see it. Now, one more thing real quick is, when do we think we actually could see this? Because I've been on the bandwagon that I think this could be a launch title or a title for the next Switch, whatever that may be. And I still stand by that. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I still think there's a very good chance that this could be a title position for the next Switch. It may still work on the existing Switch, but I do think there is still another Switch coming at some point, and this may be a title that accompanies it.
I could definitely see that, though I think it might always end up being one of those things where the game comes out on the current Switch and maybe 6 months down the line, the new console or new Switch comes out and look, if you play Mario Kart on it, here's the example of how much better it gets and enhancing.
Right.
Yeah, so they may not necessarily come hand in hand as like a launch for it, but it might be one of the spotlighted games, since, I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been the spotlighted game for the Switch, not just because of its sales, but whenever we've had anything with the OLED, they were using Mario Kart to show off how that OLED screen looks, so...
Yeah, they were. I mean, I remember specifically in the email asking if we wanted the OLED, which of course we do. They're like, "Do you have Mario Kart?" I'm like, "That's an odd question to ask." And I realized, oh, it's probably because it looks amazing on the device. So, and it does.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think Nintendo holds on to it and waits until there is a new system, even if it can do both platforms. I think they'll probably have enough in the lineup to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they typically only have one Mario Kart per platform, but the question then is, does Deluxe even count as a Mario Kart, right? Like, it was essentially, again, just a re-release with a few tweaks, some good tweaks to the original Wii U game, but it definitely doesn't count as its own installment. So I guess, whether or not that factors into the release of 9 on existing Switch hardware, I'm not quite sure. Or primarily on existing Switch hardware. But I've seen a lot of comments too being like, why would Nintendo make a 9 so soon? Given the fact that Deluxe is still selling a ton. And you're right. I mean, Deluxe is still selling a ton, but there is a factor that even if it is still selling, that there's still the existing Deluxe user base of how many millions is it now? 20 million or something? Almost 30 million?
I think it's past 30 million.
30 million, yeah. That's 30 million people who would be open to a new Mario Kart. Like, just because they own an existing Mario Kart doesn't mean they won't buy another. So even though Deluxe is still selling, doesn't mean that that's not a great, doesn't mean that's a reason necessarily not to bring out a new one. Particularly if there is a new twist here, it could possibly stand alone as its own Mario Kart, independent from 8, without like replacing it. So, and that's why I'm excited. Honestly, that's the reason I'm most excited here, is to hear that there is a new twist here, and it makes me wonder, what could that be? What could it classify as a new twist? Is it just a new mode? Is it a fundamental change to how the game works? Does it relate to online? And that's what we're here to discuss right now. What exactly is this new twist? So I think we all have some ideas. We may get up to 9. I think we all have at least 3 each, but I imagine there's some overlap here, so we'll see what we end up at. Tress, let's start off with you. What is your first thought as to what this new twist could be? To clarify, these aren't predictions. These are just our ideas for how this could go, for how the gameplay could work in Mario Kart 9, or whatever it ends up being called.
Now, I'm going to steal what might end up being one of yours for this first one. But I think whether it's as a side mode or as the main mechanic, I think we could see the return of Double Dash.
Why would you know I would pick that one, Tris? Why would you do that? Oh my god.
That was one of the first ones I came up with that I wrote down. I'm like, you know what? That's going to be a big fun talking point. And yep. I think... I don't think they would go further and do like a triple dash or anything like that, but I think, no. I mean, they mentioned back with Mario Kart 8 that they're willing to return to older ideas and mechanics. So I think this twist being it's a double dash game, or has double dash, whether it's a mode or the main thing, I think that would be really exciting, and that would really pull in a lot of classic Mario Kart fans that are tired of 8 to really push them to get it, because that's very obviously different enough from the get-go.
But does the return of an old twist count as a new twist?
I mean, they don't often do that. They don't often bring back old mechanics unless it's just kind of carrying over. And I mean, it's been, what, almost 20 years since Double Dash?
Yeah, so, next year.
Yeah, so I can definitely see that being like, look, especially if it's marketed as an anniversary game, look, we're honoring our history, we're bringing back Double Dash.
That'd be amazing. Celebrating the 20th anniversary of Mario Kart, the 20th anniversary of Double Dash and the 30th anniversary of Mario Kart all at the same time. I'm down for that. Yeah, I think everyone who follows us knows I'm a huge Double Dash fan. I think it's the best Mario Kart. There are very few people, I imagine, that are bigger fans of Mario Kart Double Dash than me, to the point that Tom and I even used to use a LAN function back in the day. Or I believe we did. Yeah. I know I did. I think, yeah, we pulled off a few times, and it was so fun. Teaming up with multiple people, riding on the same carts. The co-op is what made that game. Although it worked fine too with a single-player mechanic as well. And I think there's a possibility they could bring that back. It's something I've been hoping for forever. I would love the return of it, especially with how they could build upon that. I think there's a lot more they could do with the mechanic than they were even able to explore in Double Dash. And I've got a few ideas here for what they could do. But before we get to them real quick, I mean, I think Double Dash, the Double Dash mechanic has even more, would be even more fitting these days, given the fact that online is now a thing, so it'd be easier than ever to pair up with someone. And that'll make it even more fun if you're being able to play online against other people who are also teams. That could be a complete blast, whether it's with a friend or stranger. I think that'd be just a really fun way of playing Mario Kart. Secondly, the fact is that the Switch, like the Wii U in a way, is built for this thing. It has 2 controllers built in. Yes, make it so we can play together on the same cart, like how you can join the Joy-Cons together. I think it makes sense where they come together to form a single entity. I want that to happen. So anyways, my specific ideas for how Double Dash could work is that, like before, it will bring back the punching, it will bring back the item usage by the second character. I will make it, for me, that the first character is focused entirely on driving, which includes power sliding, so I would ditch that for the second player. Don't let them have to worry about getting sparks, especially with how the new timing mechanics work anyway. It wouldn't really make sense to retain that. Instead, I'll give the second player even more to do. And I think one way of doing this is to give them more control over items. Make it so they can independently aim green shells, so you're not locked into a straight line. Make it so you can actually, vary it left or right. And the way I would do this is by popping up a little rear view mirror below the cart, so the second player can see exactly where they're aiming behind them. I would also make it so there are new items too that could do the same, but going ahead of you as well. I would introduce rocket shells, basically which are just rockets where the second player can then aim them down the track, targeting the person in front of them or even ahead of them if they want. And so I think introducing this rear view mirror or second screen type mechanic, which I thought the Wii U would have been perfect, could really open up what you can do with the items, giving the second player a lot more strategy for what they can do when they deploy these things.
And I think there's a lot of potential with Double Dash mechanic like that too, where I know one of the big things that always gets talked about with the new Mario Kart is would bikes come back? And I mean, there's literally motorcycles with a little sidecar. They make those things, so you can have that for Double Dash as well.
That's a great idea.
Instead of behind, they'd be sitting at the side basically. Wouldn't change that much, but it would make for an interesting difference between karts and bikes as well. And it'd be funny seeing the characters literally hop out of that and onto the bike.
Right.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, you could have 2 on a motorbike too. I'd love to see the second player be able to do more as well, and the person doing the weapons, maybe being able to go side to side, being able to do more attacks than other carts. How about being able to parry items that are coming in as sort of a defensive method? I mean, there's more skill in Mario Kart with being online. Enable that skill. And also maybe something like if you get the glider, the second player has to flap to stay in the air. So things like that.
That's actually a fun idea. It reminds me of a Mario Party minigame, the Mario Party minigame, I should say. I actually really like the ability to deflect items. That could be a really expert level technique where you have to be almost frame perfect or within a few frames to really nail it, because you still have to strike that Mario Kart balance of giving people who are less good a chance to catch up. But I think that could be really fun. Yeah, if you just punch a green shell back at someone else or something. I'm all for that. And I should say too, real quick, Nintendo's been kind of leading into this whole Double Dash type thing, because in Mario Kart Live they recently had an update where you can have 2 players playing in the same race, where one person is gunning, the other player is racing, kind of like Double Dash. Mario Kart 8 brought back the double iron mechanic, not with 2 players, but they brought back the double iron boxes. And then also even the arcade games have been leaning into the co-op side of things, where you can join together to form a single entity for a brief period of time, where you can just pummel the other players an infinite amount of green shells for a brief period of time. So
and not to mention Mario Kart Tour also brought back a lot of the Double Dash exclusive items too, with all the special items per character.
So Nintendo's been toying around this idea for a while, so please go back to Double Dash. Now is the time, do it. Alright, that's enough about Double Dash for as much as I would love to talk about forever. Let's move on to another idea. Tom, what do you have? What could this new mechanic or whatever, this new feature be in Mario Kart 9?
Well, in Mario Kart 9, Mario Kart 8 had hover cars. But imagine if those hover cars were the whole time, and you raced at high speed, and in the second lap you got a boost power that you could recharge on energy strips, and you can even spin around and attack other players. Oh wait, that's just F-Zero. So seriously, I thought of an idea where rubber banding's a big thing in Mario Kart. What if we got around this in a way to be more tolerable, or at least in a new way? So I came up with the idea of Mario Kart 9 Colossus, where if you're in last place, you're tiny, and items are hard to hit you. Well, if you're in first place, you grow bigger, so you're a bigger target for everyone. And that can deal with the rubber banding and try to make it more possible, just like a unique twist on the series.
That's a really interesting idea. Yeah, make it so the first player has to use more skill to actively dodge items. It would kind of make it feel a little bit more organically rubber bandy rather than you having like no choice over it.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that idea. I don't know if that might be a little difficult to market.
Probably.
You know, hey, if you're first, this will be harder to play. But I kind of like the idea as a concept. So
It's the Dark Souls of Mario Kart.
Yeah, well, I think items would have to change too to be more skill based and stuff for being able to hit them. But yeah, just a different way to get around the rubber banding that Mario Kart like added in so many racing games down the line.
Right. All right. Well, I'll move on to my idea, which isn't Double Dash Triss. So my idea is I want coins to serve a bigger purpose. They feel largely useless. The distinction or the difference that they do make is so subtle that it's hard to pick up on, where each coin mildly moderately enhances your top speed. I want them to go all in on this. I want them to almost take a page from Snowboard Kids, where you can cash in these items in real time on the track to enhance your item. So I don't know. So what I'm thinking is, when you get an item, you can instantly cash in like 5 to 10 coins to upgrade if you want. Instead of 1 shell, you can upgrade to 3 shells. If you have or maybe you can upgrade to a red shell from a green shell, where you can then cash in your coins to improve your chance in the race. And I think they could go beyond this too, though. I think they could have even alternate routes to have like little toll bridges, if you will, where you have to have like 10 or 15 or 20 coins in order to actually pay the toll to make use of this new route. So what this could do too is make it so, like, if you're in first place, for instance, you're kind of like constantly depleting your coins in order to try and maintain that advantage. And maybe the amount of coins required could be lesser the farther behind you are, so that could kind of like tie into your point, Tom, where that would be a more organic way of rubber banding it, where like person in last gets free access to the shortcut, for instance, and then maybe other people can, like, if they're like really close, and can like kind of slip in right behind someone in front of them too for it. So I think coins could really serve a much more fun, meaningful purpose for Mario Kart, and also by doing this, it would also encourage players to go out of their way for coins, because especially when you're in first, you have 10 coins. Coins serve no more purpose anymore. You're not going out of your way for them. There's no point to collecting them. You just want to avoid being hit by items to avoid dropping them. So I think by giving you a purpose, a constant usage for these coins, giving you a secondary means of, or rather a secondary goal of collecting coins, could really kind of force you out of your comfort zone when it comes to the races, and make you take more, like, maybe not riskier, but like longer routes to maintain those coins. It would add a newer risk versus reward type balance, where you're kind of like trying to keep your coins topped off while also spending them, and it could be just a really fun way, I think, of enhancing Mario Kart.
I'll say I want no 10 coin cap. So you keep speeding up.
Exactly.
And then you can either use them on the shortcuts or try to go faster with them. And you were saying how you could follow in behind someone. No, I want the friendship ruining effect of being able to hit your friend just before a shortcut, and then they can't afford a toll.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. I think that would all be a really great way to work the coins into like the direct gameplay of Mario Kart as well. Because I think Tour handles coins well in terms of, like, there's no cap to how many you can get in a race, and you save them to use in like in-game shops outside of races. But there still isn't much for them to do in races, in actual races, not in Tour's, point-based things. Like in actual races, there's still not much purpose behind coins. So I think that would actually be a really interesting way to address that and make them more valuable.
Exactly. Yeah, make coins have, give coins value. They're coins, They should have value, but they don't really feel like they do. So I think, that could really kind of enhance, really kind of change how Mario Kart works. And I've only just touched on the possibilities. They could go, I'm sure there's a ton more things they could do with making coins like an actual currency in the game. So
yeah, I mean, whether it's buying things out of a shop, or if you go the route of, like, take Team Sonic Racing, for example, from a few years ago, where you'd be able to earn, like, customization options and things like that from different shops, or technically it was like a gacha system, but you can incorporate that into Mario Kart by expanding the shop options from what you have in Mario Kart Tour. You're not just buying characters or costumes or carts and gliders, you're also buying customization options. Maybe it's different colors, maybe it's different wheels, like all these different things that you could do. There's a lot of layers that can add to it to make it a really robust shop system as well.
Right. That'd be kind of interesting, because if there are unlockables tied to your coin count, then that would make it so you're almost discouraged from using them in the race. So then it really becomes like a question of, do I really want to use it to win this race, or do I hold on to those coins and save them for the store, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Tris, what's your next idea for Mario Kart 9?
So my next idea, actually, it's somewhat similar to what you were touching upon with the shortcuts. I was thinking back to how in interviews from Mario Kart 8, they talked about how an early idea they had was to attach like a drill to the front of the car, and you can like burrow underground. And it made me think of dynamic tracks, where there's a bunch of different paths to take, and it can change each lap. And you already have some courses where there's so many different paths to take, you might as well take a different one every time, like N64 Yoshi Valley. But I think a track that actually changes each lap would be pretty interesting. It would be, I guess, somewhat similar to the tracks where it's from point A to point B, where each lap is technically something different. But this would be, it's fairly familiar, and then instead of turning right, oh, now that's closed, you go left. Or maybe, you know, you get like an item given to you that opens up that next path. But I think they could make some really, really interesting tracks that maybe even go through actual Mario locations based on what can change in the middle of a race. And it would also feel kind of arcadey and fun, and I think it would make each track feel almost like a cruise and blast effect for you, Andre. Like it could make it feel more dynamic and bombastic and fun in the moment.
Right. Yeah. I love the idea. I want more dynamic tracks, because right now Mario Kart tracks are fairly static aside from the handful of obstacles each one may have. The actual track design doesn't really change that much, if at all. And I kind of love the idea of it changing in some degree, whether in, you know, just as throughout the course of the race or directly in reaction to what people are doing. Like, for instance, if someone like busts through a shortcut, that could open up for everyone else. You know, like if there's a locked door, maybe you can find the key, open it up, but then hey, everyone else behind you can use it too. Or as another idea I had, like maybe if there's like a field of grass, and when you plow through with a mushroom, well, then anyone could drive up all that grass you just mowed over and use it themselves without needing a mushroom. So I think there's a lot they could do. Or even, you know, actually here's a good example of a track that kind of changes a little. Actually, I'm thinking more of Wave Race, but Mario Kart used it too in the Peach's Beach course, where the water level like kind of vary.
Yep.
You can see it throughout the course of a single lap even. But they could play with that idea more, make it so the water level is constantly rising in a course, and it changes the route you have to take. Actually, perhaps the best example that Mario Kart's done to date is Grumble Volcano.
Yeah, that's the one.
But that track actually does dynamically change, and does kind of force you to take, be more careful in the route you take. And I think really kind of playing up that mechanic throughout the game could be a blast. Imagine a rainbow road that is constantly shifting, you know?
A rainbow road that starts crumbling with the panels falling out.
Yeah, exactly. You have like this narrow catwalk left at the end. You have to carefully race along.
Oh no.
All right. Well, Tom, what's your next idea for Mario Kart?
I'm gonna sort of build on that idea where the lap is a bit different each time, and my idea is Mario Kart 9 Triathlon, in the sense that every lap you choose a different vehicle, and maybe it's not just cars, bikes, and gliders type things like in planes. Maybe you can choose the vehicle to race with each lap, which Andre wouldn't like because that's more picking things before the race instead of just diving into the action. But to be able to do that and mix it up so each lap's different, maybe you can choose which vehicle you want to use in each one and save the best one for the end scenario that you're most familiar with. I think that would be a great way to mix it up and keep Mario Kart fresh for a lot longer.
I think it'd be really interesting to explore more of this, honestly. Like, what's the best way to put it? I guess even if you're having to do a lot of setup before the race, if the races themselves were longer, I think that would be a good balance for it.
Yeah, I actually really like the idea because it reminds me of Diddy Kong Racing, and that game was amazing. Yeah. But the problem with Diddy Kong Racing was that vehicles weren't entirely balanced depending on the track. Like, some were just objectively better than others. So I think making it so you have to like cycle between all three, for instance, whether it's like a hovercraft or boat or a flying vehicle in the cart, I think that could be really fun and kind of like make you think strategically about which order you want to do things in. So the way I'm picturing it is, like, you do a lap, then it gives you like a 3-second buffer between you to choose your next vehicle. If you don't choose, it'll choose for you, and your car transforms into that. and you're then playing through the same courses in a whole new way. And I kind of really love that idea. And I don't think it would necessarily need to be the case for every track, but I think the idea of like leaning into these different vehicles would be really fun, because right now it's so segmented. It's like you have your ground section, you have your underwater section, you have your flying section, and I feel like the flying in particular is probably the weakest part of Mario Kart, where it just feels like you're on rails for a brief moment. And I would love to kind of like better incorporate those all into the gameplay. It might require greatly redesigned tracks to accommodate for it, but I think that could be a really fun way of going about it.
Yeah, I mean, even if they have to rearrange older tracks, I mean, they're not really unaccustomed to doing that. They've done that before. They've redesigned old tracks to accommodate new mechanics, so that wouldn't be too unheard of.
Yep. So yeah, I'm all for the idea, Tom. That could add to the chaos of Mario Kart. All right, for my next prediction, I've been thinking about this idea for a while, and I'm amazed it hasn't become a bigger feature of Mario Kart yet. And that's the fact that Mario Kart is half Mario. And what is Mario known for? Anyone?
Plumbing.
Jumping.
Tom, plumbing. Yes, I wanted to incorporate plumbing into Mario Kart, where you're actively unclogging warp pipes. You can then use them as shortcuts. Genius, Tom. No, Triss had the right idea, being jumping. Jumping is such a minuscule part of Mario Kart. You couldn't even do it in Double Dash, and I didn't particularly miss it because it didn't matter that much in most cases. Jumping is barely a factor. I think they can lean into that more. I want bigger jumps. Kind of like along the lines of how the feather used to work in the original Super Mario Kart. I think they could bring that back as a central mechanic where you can now jump almost anytime you want. I don't know if it would necessarily need a specific jump button, but I think like one idea I have is maybe when you fill up a power slide, maybe instead of getting a speed boost out of it, you can then jump instead. And this could really open up track designs, like adding new like wilder shortcuts that you can only do by doing like successful jumps. And it can maybe lead into new flying segments, for instance, where you can then manually activate your wings while you're jumping through this longer gap. I'm not quite sure, but I think incorporating jumping could be a really fun way of opening up Mario Kart tracks more than they have before. But I feel like it might just be because I played Mario Kart 8 so much, but like the shortcuts don't even feel like shortcuts anymore. They just feel like just part of the track design. Like you either take it or you're screwed, right? And I think adding a bit more strategy to the tracks and by giving you this new ability of being able to do these massive hops could really enhance that. And it wouldn't be just for shortcuts though. It could be useful for other purposes too, like hopping over items, like how the CPU used to do constantly in Super Mario Kart, or being able to hop over rivals even entirely. I think this could really just open up how things work and really just add some new wild track designs, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, I want proper jumping in Mario Kart.
We're close to that too, because 8 Deluxe, in the battle mode specifically, they brought back that feather item.
That's true.
It does exactly that. You can jump over walls, you can jump over rivals to steal their balloons or to hurt them in general. It's not unheard of, so that's actually pretty close. I imagine why they didn't bring it into the actual races is because that probably breaks some of the tracks, being able to just jump whenever you use that. You'd probably more likely fly off the side, or rather fall off the side of any track or go out of bounds. So they made the battle courses, or the battle tracks, around the idea you can do that. It would be neat to see courses do the same then.
Yep.
Imagine if you had a triple jump in that too, for even harder shortcuts.
Oh my god, it'd be amazing. I mean, actually, that kind of brings up the point. Like, maybe your jump the height of your jump could increase based on what level of boost you have. But I think there's 3 levels of boost now in Deluxe, so the jump could increase the higher it is.
That's true. That would be a great way to do it, actually, if it's tied into that, because then it's for each stage of the drifting, you then get a higher jump.
Yep. Oh, I'd love if they had like a stomp, so that if you hit a guy, you really screw them over. But if you miss, you're kind of like stuck in the ground for risk versus reward.
That'd be really fun. That's a fun idea. All right, Triss, what's your next idea?
So this next one I wrote down as a what if we're looking at twists in the wrong way, so to say, because we have no idea what they mean by twist. And there could be an entirely different meaning behind here, whether it's very, very simple and it's just, like new mechanic, which is what Mario Kart usually does, or something big, as in it's not exactly Mario Kart. And this then brings in the idea of more Nintendo crossovers. which we had a fair amount of in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with Splatoon content, Zelda content, and Animal Crossing content. And pretty much ever since then, people have been asking for a Smash Kart. I think it would be really interesting if, instead of specifically Mario Kart 9, it's actually a Mario Kart-like that plays with a bunch of different Nintendo characters. So kind of like having the crossover characters in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but on top of that, more. You have Kirby, you have Samus, you have, I don't know, the characters from ARMS, since they're the same developers. Like, there's a lot they could actually do with that I think would open up plenty more mechanics, items, courses, beyond simply just adding those groups into Mario Kart and risking Mario Kart itself losing its identity.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I mean, I don't think they would ever rebrand it as Smash Kart. I mean, that would actually... Mario Kart's too big of an IP to dabble with rebranding it. Especially because Smash Brothers is a smaller IP than Mario Kart is, which is wild to think. So there's no way they would hinder it. They wouldn't... Mario Kart's too strong a brand to do away with. And I don't think we'll ever have... I don't think it'll ever take the form of, even if not a name, a Smash Kart. But... yeah. I do think they'd be open to, like, broadening a little bit how the amount of crossover that there is. Because, yeah, they were able to pull off Mario Kart 8 pretty elegantly without compromising what Mario Kart is. And, yeah, they could bring in a few new characters, too. Let's get Kirby in there, finally. Let's get a proper Kirby's Dream Land course, you know? And I think that could be really just a fun bonus. But whether that would be, like, for me, personally... I hope that's not the new twist. Like, as much as I want that can't be it alone. I want more than that. But what do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I'd want more than that, too. I'd love to see more franchises in there, though. I mean, Pac-Man's in the arcade one.
That's true.
Yeah, I hope it would be that combining with it. Like, mix them up. If Mario Kart did replace Smash, to have different reveals for third-party characters, that'd be cool. But yeah, I'd still want a different twist than just regular Mario Kart as well.
I think to specify, too, why I really am excited about this new twist is because we've essentially had the same type of gameplay now across 2 games, 3 if you count Deluxe, 4 and 5 if you count Tour and Live, where, like, the core of the game is pretty much identical since Mario Kart 7, with only the anti-gravity really kind of switching things up a bit in Mario Kart 8, but even that doesn't feel like all that outlandish outside the track design. So that's why I'm really excited for what this new mechanic, could possibly bring. Which I'm immediately going to undermine in a way with my next thought for what this could be, what the new twist could be. Because it's not so much a mechanic, but it's more an overall idea for the concept of the game. And that is, I would love for it to have a true adventure mode. I don't know why it hasn't yet. Diddy Kong Racing showed what you could do with, like, a proper, like, full-length single-player campaign type thing. Not that it necessarily has to be single-player. I think it should have co-op as well. I think you could play that in co-op even, if I remember correctly. But I would love for this to have, like, a full adventure mode. Like, I want, like, a world hub where you can drive around, engage in missions, like, collect things, where you can then do things with these collectibles. I want you to be able to explore the courses for reasons beyond just racing. Like, Diddy Kong Racing, again, had, I think, I mentioned it earlier even, the keys you could find, and that would unlock special things you could do in the main world. It had secret characters you could unlock. Give me that! That was so fun! I love that! And 3D Mario is all about exploration. Why isn't Mario Kart? I don't understand why they haven't done that yet. So I would love for there to be a full campaign where, yeah, you can drive around, like, where there is a central hub, but I think they could go even farther, because I think beyond it just being a mere mode, I think it could even tie into the track design, and by that I mean, I think it'd be amazing, and this is really getting really outlandish, I don't think they'll go this far, but they could have it where these tracks actually exist within the real world. Double Dash kind of teased upon the idea where we can see tracks from other tracks, and I have a whole video about that in Cool Bits, which you should go check out if you haven't already. But I think they could make it so they geographically exist in the same space, and by doing so, you can even link up some of these tracks to each other, where you can have, like, a secondary route open up, and you hop off, like, say, I don't know, a volcano stage, and you end up in a forest down below, and you can, like, interlink these tracks in brand new ways, making it so it's almost like a cross-country type thing at this point, where you have these entirely new track designs that can kind of change, maybe not dynamically, but change race to race. where they could feel quite different just based on which tracks are interconnected in a particular way in that moment. And I think that'd be fun. And then to add to building on all of this, of course, I want boss fights. I want a story. I want all this. Do all of it, Nintendo.
You want Mario Kart DS's mission mode back.
I mean, that's actually a great example. Like, they kind of teased the idea a little bit before, too, where they had, like, yeah, these objective-based races, which they totally dropped from Mario Kart 8. So let's bring them back within the context of a grander story. I don't know what that story might be, but who cares? I just want this world to exist now.
I would go with that, and I think part of it is because if it was single player, then maybe that doesn't last long term. But if you have your open world, it could be a bit like something like Burnout, where everyone's kind of existing in the world and be like, meet at this location for a race, get like 1,000,000 coins or unlockable item or something, and have it ongoing like a persistent world. I think something like that would be incentive to explore that idea. And I don't know, you could have a bunch of people like with a boss. Maybe a boss race is like everyone avoiding the boss, something like that, instead of just one-on-one, to try to keep more of a multiplayer focus. But changing the routes in the world would be awesome, though, like being able to mix them and have variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm reminded a little bit of like what I think the F-Zero Super NES tracks did. I mean, it's not at all the same. It's far less ambitious, but like where the tracks would change a bit depending on the difficulty, where you could see alternate routes, I think, at some, and then depending on which circuit you were on, it would change. I just wanted them to take that to an extreme and connect all these tracks to each other. And you can even use like warp pipes to really switch things up, where like if a track isn't next to another, take a warp pipe and you're teleported to another track, you know, and we can then make it so like you have these really long tracks, or maybe it could be a single lap race, but then where you race through multiple environments.
A single lap all cup race.
Oh my god!
Can
you imagine? It'd be so great. Bring back All Cup, by the way. All Cup was amazing in Double Dash. Bring that back officially as its own thing. So, all right. I think we've each given 3 ideas so far. So, do we have any others we haven't touched on yet?
I think Tom still had the third prediction. I
Tom,
think you jumped to yours because it segued.
Tom?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
Because it segued into yours. But yeah, so go ahead, Tom.
Well, since Audrey said all 3, I don't have to worry about stealing this now from him. And to build on Triss's call for more Nintendo characters, what better reason to have more characters than Mario Kart 9 T9?
Yes!
And have more of take the Battle Royale idea and apply it to Mario Kart. And take our idea from earlier of having changeable tracks where as the number of players decrease, so does the lap width. Because like Mario Kart Arcade, that was super wide tracks. I didn't like that. So I know if you had only like a few players, it would be good. Have it so the laps get smaller over time. I don't know if you're like Mario Kart Raceway, just lanes start disappearing, or there's cones in front of them to block them. Or have it like Rumble Volcano where the track collapses over time. Do that. And also, that would tie in a lot to the battle mode. Bring more of a focus back on that. Like have a super huge block fort that crumbles and gets smaller over time or something.
Yeah.
And just have it so it's, more of the Fall Guys type style. Nintendo had a new online infrastructure. Really try to put that into play and push the Mario Kart series and Nintendo Online forward.
I think that would really, really push Mario Kart's battle mode super well if we had something like that in it. And I think that would be the best it ever does if it became a battle royale format.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be fully honest, I think battle modes, it's so sad because, like, I love battle mode in the original Super Nintendo and Mario Kart 64. Yeah. Then it feels like it kind of fell by the wayside. It was alright in Double Dash, which pains me to say. It was okay. And it's kind of been the case for all the games since. Like, it feels like it hasn't really been a big focus. It kind of tried to bring it back a little bit or restore some of it with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Because they actually did add some new tracks and features to it then.
And it is fun there. But it definitely still feels off. Comparatively to what the original vision was.
And especially because if you think about it, Mario Kart almost in a way invented the Battle Royale. Or maybe not invented, but they were one of the earlier ones to it, where it is just a death battle, where you're trying to take down the other players and be the last man standing. And I think they could really play into that with Mario Kart 99 or 30, whatever they end up calling it. And I think that'd be a ton of fun. Just having a ton of people in a single arena or track even. Your track idea reminded me a little bit of Zero X's Death Race.
Yeah.
Where you like just race around in a loop, and that could be a fun way of going about it too. So I would love that idea of like just kind of like really enhancing the chaoticness and the survivability of Mario Kart. They may have to rework some items because I can see the green shells being ridiculous with like 99 people firing them everywhere. But I'm down for it. I would love that.
You'd have to almost have some items that are just huge, like the huge chain chomps and stuff from Double Dash. And just
The
like they
Bowser
could
shell.
wipe out a bunch of people at once.
Oh
That'd be
my
so
God.
fun, actually. Actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, ditch the 3 balloon system. You get one hit, that's it. You know, you
Oh my
get
gosh.
hit by anything, you're out. So,
Gotta have
Oh,
a
man.
big battle course for that.
yep, yes, you would. I love it. I love everything about this. So, make it happen, Nintendo. All right. Any other ideas or thoughts anyone has here?
I do note that I think whenever this Mario Kart ends up coming out, I think it has the potential to have the longest DLC cycle of
hope
most
so.
Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Like, with how much they've seen Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sells. In my opinion, I think why Mario Kart 8 Deluxe didn't get further DLC, or hasn't yet, is because they probably just didn't prepare for that. The team went on to do other things, and it was hard to go back to it, outside of small things here and there that ended up happening, like Labo. But they know how big and profitable Mario Kart is now. So I can see Mario Kart 9, or whatever it ends up being called, whenever it releases, getting a long DLC cycle, almost akin to like Smash Ultimate's 2 waves, or two sets of fighter passes, lasting like 2, almost 3 years.
Right.
I can see that happening for Mario Kart as well, to really just extend the longevity, basically to the end of the Switch's lifespan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I that's a hope. I mean, I love Mario Kart. It is a little sad that, or I won't say sad, a little disappointing that we ended up with 2 forms of it with essentially almost no more changes beyond the small gameplay tweaks in battle mode for the deluxe version. And yeah, it's time that they, I think, make it an ever like a live type title almost. Where there is new content coming constantly, whether it's paid for or free for expansion pack members. I don't know what the best way to do that is, but I just know that I don't want it to come out and then be stuck with it, for the duration of whatever the platform is until the next Mario Kart. So yeah, I hope they keep adding more new content. Like, it seemed like, they did a decent job with the original Mario Kart 8, adding the 4 new circuits, and I hope that they continue to do that for the new one. So I'm right there with you, Tris.
I'm going to add something I want to add in. I want the laps to change more on different CC difficulties. So going back to your grass idea, like what if grass was longer in like 150cc and then you'd go slower going through it, like more of a punishment? Or let's say Moo Moo Meadows, more cows,
Yes.
or 150
More cows.
250cc,
More cows.
there's a bull that charges you, like stuff like that. I want
Yeah.
more changes in the harder difficulties like that.
You know what game did that a little bit, Tom?
What game?
Mario Kart Double Dash, baby!
Yeah, that's right.
It added a few more obstacles, and for the 150cc races, Luigi's circuit had like a dividing wall for 50cc and not on the others, as I recall.
Yep.
So yeah, they could. I think that's Double Dash is the genesis of like so many great ideas that they could really flush out for a Mario Kart 9.
I forgot about that because I played it in the highest difficulty for so long. I guess that's one.
I know
downside to
exactly.
doing
Yep. And actually, kind of to your point, Tris, of adding more DLC, I think what would be something really fun too that I don't think they've ever done before is adding new items too. Like you could change the meta a little bit by incorporating new items. And I have a couple here. I think it'd be fun to add like a prawn plant item where you can plant anywhere you want in the track, and if anyone gets too close, it like just snatches them up and holds them for a few seconds.
Okay, so
I think
I would say, so it could be like the actual Piranha Plant obstacle, but you get to place one.
you place it exactly.
That's nice.
And then I have another for a warp pipe item where you get to set the exit and entry points. So you drop the exit first, and you drop the entry point a little bit ahead. So if anyone hits it, they can warp back behind to where they were instantly.
See, that's 2 pipe things. Plumbing right there.
You're right, exactly. And then I had another idea for in a double dash type thing. It could be like a Lakitu's cloud, where the second player, the gunner, can hop in the Lakitu's cloud. They actually have like free movement around the cart, and they can actually drop like the little spiny enemies wherever within that radius.
That would be good. That
That's
goes with the idea that I had where you could jump off onto another cart and just start wailing somebody else on how to get back.
Okay, so that's just Mad Max.
I love that idea too. What, like, you can take it to an extreme. What if you could forcibly swap gunners with each other? So like you just swap teams halfway through a
It's like,
circuit.
I'm gone.
Okay,
It's like jumping off a Yoshi. It's like, you're not doing well here. I'm
exactly.
going.
I'm out.
Wow. Betrayal.
That could be brutal.
I thought of like
So that
jumping
could
on another cart, like you grab the wheel and like you force them to swerve down.
That's like how I used to play Halo when I was a jerk back in the day. I like just force everyone to drive off a cliff almost, you know, like take the whole team with me down. Oh man, that could be fun. Also ridiculous and probably way too hard to balance, but I'm all for these ideas regardless. Alright, so those are our overall, like, some wild concepts, some more normalized concepts we have, or more normal concepts we have in Mario Kart 9. How are we all feeling now? Like, are we feeling good about Mario Kart 9? Do we think Nintendo could go to some of the extremes we had? Do you think they'll really take the chance to kind of switch up Mario Kart here? Or do you think we'll get the kind of more typical style of gameplay now with this, maybe a small change here? What are we kind of expecting at this point?
I think realistically it'll be more of a small change, but I'm excited regardless because I love Mario Kart.
Yeah, I think it'll be a nice new twist. I think, though, considering the hover ability last time wasn't, like, huge, I'm hoping for a bigger twist this time around or some different handling of the vehicles.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Tom. I'm hoping for something a little more fundamental and foundational to it. Especially that way it would help Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still stand alone as its own game, and again, 9 wouldn't act as a replacement necessarily. But I really do hope they kind of like really switch things up in this case, whether it's, you know, changing how the vehicles work, adding a double dash type mechanic, even if it's its own secondary mode, adding a whole adventure mode, like interlinking these tracks in some way. I really hope Nintendo kind of like takes a chance to kind of reinvent what Mario Kart could be. I mean, keep Mario Kart, keep the fundamentals, of course. It's still like a racing game, primarily on karts, but I think they could really do a lot to kind of switch it up and really make it feel distinct and fun in a whole new way. And I really can't wait to see what Nintendo has in mind. Like, I mean, what might be the best, possible thing is it's an idea we haven't even thought of here. Like, they have something just so off the wall, something so unique that we haven't seen before, that just kind of blows our minds when it happens. And I don't know if I'm expecting that, but I'd be fine with it. So I'd hope if that happened, or I'd be happy if that happened.
Yeah, it's just the Halo grappling hook.
Hey, a grappling hook in racing? Sure, why not? Yeah. I'm down for it. I mean, that kind of ties to my jumping idea, so that'd be pretty great. Alright, everyone, I think it's going to wrap up for our thoughts on Mario Kart 9, our hopes, predictions, expectations, wild ideas, whatever you want to call them. So those are some of our ideas, but what are you personally hoping for Mario Kart 9? Do you like some of our ideas? Do you have some of your own? Let us know what you kind of hope to see, or what you hope to see in Mario Kart 9 in the comments below. And with that, thank you for watching, and of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for tons more on Mario Kart 9 in the future. Probably both before it's released, or announced, and even after it's announced, of course, especially after it's announced. But I'm sure we'll have more videos about the potential Mario Kart 9 before then. With that, though, thanks for watching, and of course, we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone! Oh, wait, I forgot. I was gonna make a whole joke! I forgot! My joke is, I hope they don't phone it in!
Oh, that's it, man.
Alright, there we go.
Hello, bad pun police.